about this getting the voting machines thing is something they really were focused on, up to and including President Trump personally. It wasn't a passing fancy. It wasn't something they, molded and didn't try. They tried 3 different ways to do it with 3 different powerful federal agencies. Try the military, try the Justice Department, try Homeland Security, put Rudy on the horn with Homeland Security. But even that wasn't the extent of it. There was more that we knew a little bit about at the time because of this guy in the airport in Washington, D.C., randomly singing instead of answering questions from reporters.
Senator Shirky, why are you meeting with President Trump today?
I was just having a delightful trip to Washington, D.C. today.
And you're meeting with President Trump, is that correct?
That's a good possibility.
What will you be talking about with President Trump?
But I won't be sharing anything else with you right now. Thank you.
Did Joe Biden win this election? Should President Trump concede?
Time has surrendered and earth is no more. I will cling to the old.
What are you meeting with President Trump about, Senator Shirky?
Kind of nice pipes, right? Nice voice. Credit to the reporter who's like, you're going to sing now? Okay, I'm still just going to keep asking you these questions. That man's name is Mike Shirky. He is a state senator in Michigan. He's actually the leader of the Republicans in Michigan State Senate. And this video was taken November 2020, right after the election at the airport in Washington, D.C. What was he doing in Washington, D.C.? When he was asked that, what are you doing here? Why were you just at the White House? Why were you meeting with President Trump? What were you talking about? You could sort of hear him initially engaging with the questions, but then he just turned to song, which is sort of endearing. But it's interesting. It's not like it was a secret that he was there meeting with President Trump in Washington. It was reported widely and publicly at the time that President Trump was inviting a whole delegation of Republican lawmakers from Michigan to come to the Oval Office and meet with him personally in the White House. Now, this was happening while he was publicly inveighing against the Michigan election results and insisting he must have won that state and it all must have been stolen from him. Officially, what the White House said and what the Michigan officials said is that the meeting was to talk about COVID, that these Michigan officials were coming to the White House to meet with the president to talk to him about important COVID issues. Really? Is that, in fact, why he summoned them there? Again, this was November 20th. It's totally clear what was going on, right? This is right after the election. It's 2.5 weeks after the election. Trump was not only disputing Biden's victory in Michigan at the time, he was publicly trying to pressure local election officials in Michigan counties that went for Biden, that they shouldn't certify the election results in those counties. It was widely speculated at the time that he had invited those Republican lawmakers from Michigan to rope them in on this scheme he was pushing to overthrow the government, to pressure them to go back home to Michigan and somehow use their authority as state lawmakers to undo the Biden victory in the state of Michigan. Right, it was sort of obvious that must have been what was going on. Perhaps that is why the Michigan Republican Senate leader didn't want to talk about the fact that he had just flown to D.C. and he had just met with the president. But he had just done that. I mean, here he is. This is a photo of him walking into the White House with the gray hair there, with the American flag mask decorating his left ear. Those lawmakers spent nearly 2 hours with Trump inside the White House that day. The Detroit News reported at the time that they were all in quote, that they were all quote, laughing and in good spirits when they left after their meeting with the president. After their meeting, those Republicans from Michigan stayed naturally at the Trump Hotel in Washington, D.C. Here they are in the lobby that night, sipping what looks to be very nice champagne. And look at this. That same night, Democratic activists actually projected photos of the Michigan Republican leaders who had met with Trump that day, while the president is actively and publicly trying to overthrow the election results in Michigan. They projected their photos on the outside of the Trump Hotel.